Today, we're going to talk about a few strategies to make fewer mistakes, which allows you to make more money in voiceover. Hang around. I'm Bill DeWeese, professional voiceover talent, voiceover coach, voiceover demo producer. So glad you're here. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Of course, comment, share, like, all that fun stuff. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you being here. I love it. It's fun when we get together every weekday morning, which we do at this time to talk voiceover, specifically to talk about stuff to help you make more money in voiceover. Trying to turn this, we don't want it just to be a hobby. I mean, it's great if you do it as a hobby, but you know what? Might as well make some money while you're doing it. And while you're making some money, might as well make as much money as you can while you're doing it. So that's what this channel is all about. But first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my favorite baseball team of all time. If you don't follow baseball, I mean, you have to appreciate any sport where an underdog does amazing things. This is a rebuilding year for the Cincinnati Reds, which means they have a lot of young players, a lot of rookies, nobody having any high expectations. They just beat the Los Angeles Dodgers in dramatic style for the past two nights. And man, it's, you know, not just old dogs can do well at something. You don't have to be around voiceover forever to be successful. It's amazing what a good rookie can do when they come in with the right attitude and have the right support system, are surrounded by a team of people who support and share in that whole process. And that's what I like to think of us as that. That's what this is all about. That's what I do as a voiceover coach. And again, thanks for being here. So let me cut right to the chase. A couple strategies that I've learned to help me make fewer mistakes. Now, the significance of making fewer mistakes, which I've alluded to already, is not just the fact that you have bragging rights for making fewer mistakes, but to build a highly profitable voiceover business. Part of that is learning to be very efficient in your workflow and what you do to make sure that you maximize the time for the activities that make you money, i.e., marketing and recording. There's other stuff that has to be done, but you want to make sure that you're being as efficient, being effective in picking the right activities, and then being as efficient in those activities as you can, producing excellent work, but allowing as much time as possible to be able to market, to get new clients, and to record. And so that's always been a kind of a high wire act I've had to balance in my career and find ways to become more efficient at what I do. And one of the things that I've become quite good at is being able to read for long periods of times with very few mistakes. I'm not saying I don't make mistakes. Clearly, I do. If you guys know me at all, you know I make mistakes. My students who are here from the Blueprint who watch me work every day, you know I make mistakes. That's the point, is not to be flawless. Nobody's flawless. We're human beings. But there's some things that you can do that are within your power to help you minimize those mistakes, because let's say, for instance, you're reading a 10,000 word project. And a 10,000 word project, finished audio, is going to be approximately an hour of recorded audio. Now, do you want that to take you an hour and a half to do, completely record, edit, ready to go out the door? Or do you want that to take you 4 or 5 hours? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I mean, you can literally save almost a half a day worth of work when you're highly efficient at what you do. And it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it takes practice, but you need to have the right strategies. So 2 strategies, all right? Number 1, I've said this before. Some of you guys are newer here, so you haven't heard this, but it bears repeating, and I'll keep saying it over and over again because it's so important. Slow down. It is the number 1 reading performance mistake of talent, especially, I would say, in their first several years of being a voiceover talent. The one thing that we often don't realize is that the microphone does some strange things to us. It causes our brain to begin to work in ways that it normally does. When the microphone's not there and we're not thinking about it, we're able to be ourselves and do our thing. When a microphone is put in front of us, it flips a switch, and all of a sudden, our mind starts doing mental gymnastics of all sorts. And one of the chemical reactions of a microphone is often the release of adrenaline, unbeknownst to us. And the result of that adrenaline rush is that we tend to speed up and get faster, usually without even realizing it. Well, over the years of my early career, I was told to slow down so many times by clients. Finally, it got through my thick skull to slow down. And so slow down. Just force yourself, just realize that you probably, now this doesn't happen, this is not 100% of the time, not everybody. I'm going to say about 95% of everybody I work with typically is reading too fast when we start working with each other. There's obviously some projects that are under time constraints. Oops, let me see if I can readjust the focus on that camera. It's very fuzzy right now. What did I do? What did I do? Let's see if that'll do it. Well, whether I'm fuzzy or not doesn't change the content, so we'll continue on. We were talking about making fewer mistakes. Mistakes are human. It's what we do, but there are some projects that are under time constraints, maybe commercial, it's a 15-second commercial, 30-second commercial, or you're even doing a corporate job that has to fit into a certain time frame. Even so, you start off by reading slow until you get a little more familiar with the content. Because you start slow, and if you need to, you build speed from there. But never start fast. Always start slow. And usually you're not going as slow as it feels like you are in your head, in your mind. The way we perceive ourselves is not usually the way things actually are, the reality of the situation. So slow down. Simple one. I mean, it sounds simple. Take some effort, but you'll get that. You can do that. Slow down. Number 2. Okay. This took me years to figure out. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes if I have to figure it out myself, I can be a slow learner. I mean, it takes me a while. If you teach me something, if you show me something, I'll pick it up fast. But if I have to do it through trial and error, it can take me a while. So after a number of years of recording voiceover, it finally dawned on me that when I was reading scripts from side to side, it made a difference in the number of mistakes I made based on how many words were crammed into a line and how long those lines were. So in other words, the more that I had to move from left to right and back to left to right, the longer that line, the more mistakes I made. Now maybe that sounds simple to you, and I guess in retrospect, it sounds like it'd be a simple thing to figure out, but I read things as they were given to me and I didn't think twice about it. But what I ended up doing and what I do now is I'll do a few things. For instance, if I need to adjust the font, I mean, clearly you've got to be able to see it, but that will influence that. So I like to use like a 13, 14 point font. But the big thing was making the margins wider so that instead of reading from here to here and then back from here to here and then back from here to here, I'm reading from here to here to here to here, here. So there's less eye movement, and the less eye movement I have to go from line to line, I found the fewer mistakes I was making. The easier it was to stay in the flow of what I was doing and not lose track of what was happening or lose, the mental process as much as even the physical process of it. So again, slow down, make those margins a little bit bigger and see how they work for you. They've worked for me. Maybe you've found some other things that work for you. If so, make sure you share those in the comments. But at the end of the day, it's about being more efficient. This is not a contest to see who makes the fewest mistakes. That would be silly. But it is a contest to see how much money you can make in voiceover. So, do the things that you can to be as efficient as you can to make more time to do the things that make you more money, which is, of course, marketing and recording projects. I hope you find those tips helpful. If you haven't yet, make sure you share your name and where you're watching or listening in the live stream chat. I'm going to do a quick roll call this morning, and let's see, we've got Ty. Ty, I'm working with Ty a little bit later on this morning. We're working on his demo. So today we have the session. We'll be recording his commercial demo. Ty, looking forward to that. And by the way, for those of you who are interested in having your demo produced, just drop me an email at training@buildawees.com, training@buildawees.com. By the way, you know what? I didn't mention this. I got to back up a little bit. Make sure you go into the description. I've got a link to my behind the scenes bundle. Now, this behind the scenes bundle, it's under $100 and it's only for sale this week, which means time is running out on this. But what I've done is I've taken some of the prime cuts of my voiceover training, and I'm taking you behind the scenes and letting you watch the things that I do that allow me to make a multiple six-figure income. So if you're starting from scratch or you're not making much money yet, this is going to teach you how to get to your first six figures. If you're already making six figures, by incorporating strategies, it's going to help you add another six figures to your income. So as in everything I do is to help you learn to be a more profitable business person, voiceover business person. And I can't think of a better way than to actually bring you in the studio and say, okay, watch me as I do this. This is what you need to do. And then watch, I'm going to show you how to do it. And that's what this training is all about. So just go into the description, click the link, get it while you can. Okay. Mark in Albuquerque. Jim, how are you doing? Saying loves the content. In Lincoln, Nebraska. Thank you, Jim. Dan, what's going on? Disco Dan from Clarkston, Michigan. Doug, the party still goes. From the 70s, it just keeps rolling on. Doug in Greensboro, North Carolina. Gertie, how are you doing in Belgium? Gretchen and Adrian, Michigan. Patrick in Maryland. Rebecca in Michigan. Chrissy in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Goodwill, how are you doing in Dearborn, Michigan? Greg in Asheville, North Carolina. Jason in Mobile, Alabama. Tim in Altoona. Thanks to the blueprint, I am at 5 figures this year. Next step, 6. Tim, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so glad you're in the blueprint and glad that you're doing. See, Tim's doing the work, man. He's doing it and he's making it happen. I love it. And thanks for sharing that, Tim. Good morning from Smoggy, Long Island. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Bob, how are you doing? Good morning from bright and beautiful Clearwater, Florida. Mark, how are you? Corey, what's up in Whitehall, Wisconsin? Theo says, good morning to all from the home of 2 great baseball teams. Go Cubbies and go Sox. Janet. Oh, okay. I've got a quick White Sox story for you. Okay. So when we lived I was much more of a White Sox fan than I was a Cubs fan when we lived in Chicago. And my in-laws were coming up for a visit on July 4th. And so I thought, and they're all, Vicky's family, big baseball fans. And so I thought it'd be fun to take them to a White Sox game. So I bought tickets. And this was a while. Alex, my son Alex, the audio engineer, actually Vicky was pregnant. She was 8 months pregnant with Alex at the time. And this is July 4th, so the stadium is packed, but I got some seats along the third base line, and I wanted to make sure I got really good seats. And so I got the best seats I could on that side of the stadium. This is before internet. I mean, it was before really the internet, at least as we know it today. And so, being able to actually see graphics of the stadium and the seats, all this stuff. So this is a while back. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I'm excited. Well, we get to the stadium, only to find out that the seats that I thought were like right down close to the field were literally like the next to last row from the very top of the stadium. Well, that was bad enough. But again, Vicky was 8 months pregnant with Alex. And so we did it. She did it. I mean, she's an athlete. She's tough. So she battled her way to the very, very top of what's now, the cellular field. And my gosh, she was dying of thirst. I remember that. And we were looking for like a Coke vendor or somebody. And they were only selling beer that high up for some reason. And so I ended up having, I went obviously and got something for her. But that's one of the times I felt the worst in my life because I forced my wife, who was 8 months pregnant, forced Vicky to climb to the top of the ball field. That's awful, isn't it? Janet, good morning to you in Fleming Island, Florida. Thank you. Janeri, how are you doing in Louisiana? Kevin in Houston, Texas. Laura, go Reds. And as I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, I have to add go Twins. Yes, you probably should do that. Kevin says go Astros. Everybody supporting their favorite team today. Love it. Kenny, good morning from down Country Road in West Virginia. I love it. That's a nice visual. And there's nothing, it seems like, I've traveled, I think, every road in West Virginia over the course of my life. And it felt like every road that I was on in West Virginia was a country road. Hey, Bob in Reedsville, North Carolina. Steve in Oshkosh. Russ from Cleveland. Last day of corporate job. Whoa, on to full-time voiceover. Russ, that deserves. That's for you, Russ. Way to go, man. All the best to you on that. Love it. Bill in Idaho. Sherry in Amarillo, Texas. Kathleen in Evanston, Wyoming. Hey, Wade, how are you doing in Philadelphia? Scotty says, here's to old rookies. Good morning from South Dakota. Rob Ryder says, we love you in Love Land. Thank you, Rob. I love that. Good morning from Mesa, Arizona. Hey, Dan, how are you doing? Dan, another Blueprint member, as a number of the folks here this morning are. I love your attitude and emphasis on efficiency. I tend to be slow, and my editing process is way too long. Watching you work and seeing your speed and efficiency is an inspiration and goal for me. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. And Dan, Dan being in the Blueprint gets to watch as I work in my studio during the day. And Dan's always making really nice comments, which I really appreciate it. I would just say, don't put pressure on yourself to be fast. I think if you learn if you learn the right strategies and the techniques with the repetition, when you get the repetitions, the speed will come naturally, because otherwise you end up frustrating yourself. But I'm glad you're learning these things and implementing them. That's fantastic. Oops, the stream moved on me. Where was I at here? Let me find my way back home. There we go. Oh, we have a good morning from Knoxville. Yeah, that's where my mom grew up. Jay in Massachusetts. Even old dogs need your support. Who've been doing this since 1971. Thanks, Jay. Hey, Rusty in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Aaron. Good morning. MG in North Carolina. Good morning. What's up, Eric in Richmond, Texas? Katrina in Tucson, Arizona. Theo says, I used this tip about minimizing eye movement as recently as yesterday. It definitely helps me. Theo, so glad to hear that. Fantastic. Yeah. Melissa, hi to you in San Diego. How are you doing? Edward in Newark, Delaware. Ty says, I'm pumped to get to work on my pro demos. Yes. Jeff in Northern Indiana. Good morning. Sherry in Smoky, New York. Yeah, we're getting a lot of that. Last night was hazy here, too, getting that drift of all the Canadian stuff coming down this way. Kind of crazy, huh? And Sherry signed up for the behind the scenes bundle. Awesome. Man. Yeah. Can't wait for you to watch that and study that, because you're going to learn so much about the things that you do and how to do them to get the most traction on voiceover. That's awesome. Dwight, an old newbie in Connecticut. Wally, blueprinting on the road in Florida. All right, Wally. Liz, good morning to you in Northern Illinois. Steve, can't wait to try the margin trick. Fantastic. Tess, hey y'all, from Tequila, Georgia, Tess says. Jolie says, finishing another ACX audiobook this weekend. Oh, that's awesome, Jolie. Way to go. Let's see here. Patricia in Jacksonville, Florida. MG, to answer your question, $97 for the behind the scenes bundle. Portland, Oregon in the house. Hey guys, thanks again for being here. Man, I really appreciate it. It's fun, but I hope that in addition to the fun and the fellowship and kind of hanging out, that you're taking these strategies, which obviously I know some of you are. You talk about it, and you're using them and helping yourself to progress down the road in voiceover. Make sure you check out that the behind the scenes bundle. The link is in the description. Have a great day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow morning.